I'm really excited. I'm gonna go talk to some gamers in the real world and see what resolution that they game at. So I realized pretty quickly when I went to the park that gamers don't really go outside. So I decided to just give up and I hopped on Overwatch instead, because gamers should be on Overwatch, right? What up? Okay. You ask gamers questions and they're even more awkward in game. What resolution do you guys play your games at?
What kind of question is that? I'm gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say I'm 1080p, I think.
Apparently the most earth-shattering question to people. What resolution do you guys play PC at?
Shit, I don't remember what mine is.
1080, 4040 or something?
I think mine's 1080 by, yeah, I think that's mine.
I want to figure out if people care about higher resolutions.
I think anything after 1080 is kind of more than you'd notice, honestly.
Yeah, most of the time, for sure. Oh, Hanzo.
I play 1920 by 1080, but...
Gotcha. Do you guys care about 4K?
Not really, but I do just play on my laptop, so.
The Steam hardware survey paints the whole picture. Only 2.7% of people actually game at 4K. And that's obvious when the most affordable gaming display I could find on Amazon is $700. That automatically restricts 4K to the enthusiasts or those who have a lot of extra money, because the monitor isn't the only expensive thing. The PC required to enjoy that resolution is going to run you at least $1,500. Jay did a video about an affordable, high-quality 4K monitor.
If you think that something like this would be far too expensive to ever consider as being used as a monitor, there's a link in the description where you guys can go and check out the price. And I'm putting a link down there. You would be shocked as to...
Oh, hell no. Hell no, man.
If you're shopping at that price point, it's actually good value. Jay comes from the world of PC reviewers and enthusiasts that are more than happy to spend $1,000 just on the fittings for their water-cooled masterpiece. In this video here, we're going to discuss the pros and cons of the most popular resolutions in PC gaming: 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. We're going to be discussing them in 16:9 aspect ratio, and why despite all of the hype and the marketing about it, 4K might never be the norm in PC gaming. 65% of PC gamers play at 1080p, which makes it the most popular resolution by far because it's affordable, easy to run, and it hits a really nice balance of sharpness at typical monitor sizes. This obviously correlates with what the most popular graphics cards are: the GTX 1650, the 1060, the RTX 3060, and 2060, which are all great bang for the buck cards. The most common graphics cards have their value set at 1080p. You can pick up a GTX 1650 and throw it in a pre-built computer because it's so low power, then get a great 1080p monitor for another $200 and you're in the door of PC gaming. It's a clear winner, but maybe 1080p isn't enough for you, so you enter the second most popular resolution, 1440p, at 11% of PC gamers. Basically, this is the mid to upper range of the PC gaming market. People that are typically willing to spend a little bit more, or can afford a little bit more, or are just a little bit more committed to the hobby. The monitor is only about $100 to $150 more than the 1080p monitor. It's gonna be sharper, but a little bit harder to run, so you're looking more at like an RTX 3070 graphics card to get a fluid experience, which is about $450 on the used market right now. Radeon 6700 XT would be the AMD equivalent. My personal setup that I showed before has a 32-inch 1440p monitor, and from where I sit, I can't really see any pixels. It's sharp as can be, and I use an RTX 3080 to drive it very comfortably. So this leaves us with 4K, otherwise known as the GPU destroyer. But why does it destroy GPUs? In order to prove this, I counted every single pixel on every single monitor size. The more pixels they have, theoretically, the more work your GPU has to do to drive it. So I got to work with 1080p first. I started off pretty strong, then I definitely lost count a couple times, and it was really frustrating. Sometimes my eyes would just start playing tricks on me, but I powered through it. In the end, I counted 2 million pixels. And I'm not gonna lie, 1080p was really rough, and I was scared to do 1440p next. But I would do anything for y'all, so I went in again with the same process. When I missed my count again and again, I just about gave up, but then I remembered what Seinfeld always taught me. You can do absolutely nothing for 9 seasons of TV, and you can still entertain people. So I kept trucking on. Eventually, after 10 hours, I finished, and the total was 3.7 million pixels. Wow, I can't believe I actually did that. Now we all know that 1440p is technically speaking 1.85 times harder to run than 1080p. So now all I gotta do is 4K, and with all this experience I have from counting 1080p and 1440p, it'll be a breeze. I stepped out and I looked at that TV and I realized that I was in over my head, but like the foolish idiot that I am, I attempted it anyway. After hours and hours of messing up and counting, oh my God, I just gave up. And then I realized that Google is a thing. So I looked it up and it's 8.3 million pixels. Hindsight, that I probably should have just done that from the start, but you live and you learn. That makes 4K 2.24 times harder to run than 1440p and 4.15 times harder than 1080p. It is so much crazier. That means that you're probably gonna need a $1,000 Radeon 7900 XTX or an RTX 4080 to drive this thing. Plus, the base cost of a monitor at $700 and the equivalent power of the rest of your PC matching that GPU, that high-end GPU, and you're talking multiple thousands of dollars for 4K. And I do realize that upscaling is a thing, but it starts to get pretty hard to make compromises when your monitor is already $700. Most people are gonna look at this and think to themselves, why would you go to 4K when it's only marginally better and comes with so many downsides? That's exactly it. There's pretty much nothing. And I'm sorry, this might be a little confrontational, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts as well. For this, I used an online Retina distance calculator to mathematically determine how good these monitors are for their value. Because resolution only matters when you consider the size of the screen and the distance at which you view it from. For example, all sizes of 1080p monitors have the same number of pixels, whether it is 24 inches or 100 inches. But the 24-inch monitor is going to look way sharper when you sit 2 feet away from it compared to 1080p spread across 100 inches. Okay? This density of pixels is called PPI, pixels per inch. And you can calculate this if you know the size and resolution of a display. For these calculations, I used a 27-inch display size because it is a quite common monitor size. What this calculator does is give the PPI in the minimum distance where the display looks as sharp as it could be. A 27-inch 1080p monitor has a PPI of 81.59, and it is recommended to view it from about 42 inches away. Based on my setup and where I sit, I'm about 32 inches from a monitor. Although based on the size of your monitor and the size of your desk, this can vary. But 42 inches is objectively pretty far away from your monitor. Although from my personal experience, I had a 27-inch 1080p monitor for years, and I couldn't really complain about seeing pixels. Yes, you could see them if you were creeping, but it was generally fine. This is just the slight compromise that you make when you go with a cheaper display and setup, which leads me into the sweet spot, 1440p. A 27-inch 1440p display is 108.79 ppi, which is ideally viewed from 32 inches away. Technically speaking, a 27-inch 1440p monitor would literally be perfect for me, but fuck it, we ball, so I got a 32-inch one. If you want a slightly bigger display like 27 inches, 1440p is probably the sweet spot. It also only costs about $100 more than the 1080p display, but I do realize that $100 more when you're only talking about $200 is a big price jump. But value for money it is definitely still there. Also, with a little bit of DLSS, you could probably run 1440p with a RTX 3060 and be pretty happy. So that leaves us with 4K. And I know what you're thinking. If I already said that a 1440p display was pretty much perfect, then you're probably seeing where I'm going with this. 4K is overkill. A 27-inch 4K display is 163.18 ppi, and it can be viewed at its full sharpness from 21 inches away. And that is just way too close for a monitor of that size, so I just wouldn't recommend it. Although I can definitely see that 4K lends its hands to anyone who wants a very large display as their monitor, like Jay. But a 27-inch one, it's hard to justify, especially for $700. Apple was actually one of the first to realize this with the Retina displays they introduced in 2010. The marketing was that you couldn't see the pixels, but some low-key improvements that it actually makes is that your device is going to be more efficient, and its battery life might be better because it doesn't have to drive all those extra pixels that you don't necessarily need. So despite this influence in the market, Sony decided to launch the first 4K smartphone in 2017. And that thing dropped like the Titanic to the bottom of the ocean because nobody bought it. The battery life was terrible and the phone was too expensive.
So the golden question here is, can you actually tell the difference in image quality between 4K mode on the Xperia Z5 Premium and another really high-end smartphone display? So this is the Z5 Premium snapped into 4K mode at an arm's length. So go ahead and make sure you're watching in 4K. And then this is the Nexus 6P, so a high-end Quad HD AMOLED display. Now you can only tell so much through YouTube, but it's pretty much impossible to see the difference between these two at an arm's length.
And there's basically no benefit to having the extra resolution. 1080p is all you technically need to have a very sharp smartphone. This seemed like a small tangent, but it makes you think about if you are just wasting your money and energy using a 4K monitor. Based on your specific scenario, 4K definitely has its place, especially on things like a large TV, but a computer monitor for the average person? The most tone-deaf thing I ever saw in PC gaming marketing was when AMD announced the 7900 XTX and they showed it running 8K. They just did not read the room here. If only 3% of people use 4K, who is realistically ever using 8K? So I don't exactly get why 4K is being marketed as the thing everyone should care about in PC gaming. I don't ever see 4K becoming what 1080p is, because 1080p is such a great value, and 1440p is emerging as a phenomenal sweet spot for normal monitor sizes and viewing distances. 4K feels like this awkward thing that people only get because they feel like they have to, or because they have way too much money to spend on their system. But let me know what you think though. I can definitely see the angle for creative work, being able to see everything that you're making if you're uploading it in 4K to actually see it in true 4K. But for gaming, it's hard to justify. Also, 4K is great for anything bigger than a normal monitor. But other than that, it's honestly a tough sell. But that's been it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. All right, post credits here. People are going to be talking about ultra-wide monitors, and I think there's definitely a nice market for them, especially with productivity just having more space on your screen to work with. And they're great for immersing you in a game. However, they're still pretty niche. So this video was focusing on the 16:9 aspect ratio. Not to mention, ultra-wide displays are just harder to drive as well for your system, making them just a little bit less approachable for the average PC gamer. They are pretty nice though, and let me know what you think about ultra-wide displays down below. All right, for real this time. I'll see ya.